Welcome to our new video. In this video we are going to talk about iPhone 14. So without wasting any time, let's get started. The iPhone 14 is accompanying an unbelievable overhaul that nobody anticipated, so today we have more affirmations on the forthcoming iPhone 14 series, including some unimaginable fresh insight about an extremely unforeseen update before we get everything rolling. However, like the video, in the event that you honestly love Apple, let me know in the remarks what nation you're observing the present video from, and if you haven't already, then hit subscribe now so you don't miss a thing in the future. So for the main story of the day, we have spilled reports for a double-port 35-watt USB-C charger, driving numerous to believe that the iPhone 14 is at long last going to change to USB-C. Sadly, this charger has no effect and we will not be getting USB Type-C on the iPhone 14. The charger will obviously work with the iPhone 14, yet it will utilize the gave USB-C to Lightning link. Regardless of the multitude of bits of gossip that come around, the iPhone 14 series will be utilizing the Lightning port. Apple obviously bring in cash from the Lightning connector, even from the outsider gadgets, and what we've seen, the change to USB Type-C and other Apple gadgets, it's simply not going to occur for the iPhone, in spite of the link being extremely obsolete. Now the iPhone 14 is presently going through the designing approval testing, and we can be 99.9% certain that all models will have the Lightning connector. Currently, next up we have news from Fishing 8 on Weibo, and he posted the camera determinations for the iPhone 14 Ace and the iPhone 14 Ace Max. Obviously the post uncovers a 48 megapixel wide point camera redesign that we've all been expecting. He exhorts we'll get 1.22 pixels. And true to form, these are more modest than the ancestor, yet with regards to the genuine sensor, we are getting a lot bigger one. The new sensor is accepted to be a Sony sensor, and it's a 1/1.3-inch sensor, which is really 21 bigger than the sensor found in the iPhone 13. Presently, this ought to obviously give better photography to the iPhone 14, and evidently some portion of the explanation we're actually getting the raised camera knock on the back of the iPhone 14. Next up we have staggering fresh insight about a vastly improved show for both the iPhone 14 Ace and the iPhone 14 Expert Max. The plan was released some time back. While we've lost the score for poke hole cameras, we recently expected that the bezel sizes plan to remain something similar as per Shrimp Apple Expert on Twitter. However, this isn't really going to be the case. We will get substantially less bezel on the iPhone 14 Ace models. He posted miscreant delivers that show us that the bezels are simply going to be around 1.95 millimeters thick, and that is truly a decrease of around 20%, and despite the fact that they've been diminished generally round, that they're actually going to be even all through the entire presentation. This is one more step in the right direction to a full screen iPhone, and I've made these renders here to show you what it ought to resemble with the decreased bezels and the opening punch show. Now the bezel sizes have stayed basically similar over numerous ages of iPhone, so it's perfect to see Apple at long last making a few enhancements here with a significantly better back camera, a new selfie camera plan, and an all the more full screen gadget. Despite the fact that they're genuinely minor changes, is most likely the greatest plan update we've seen from Apple for quite a while now. By and by, I think this is to a greater degree motivation to redesign as opposed to last year with the 13. It essentially brought us 120 Hz and some extremely minor iPhone 14. We get a 6.1-inch Super Retina OLED show. It's supposed to be a 90 Hz show with a 1170 by 2532 goal, and this gives us 460 pixels for each inch on the front. We'll get a 12 megapixel selfie camera, yet dissimilar to the master models, we will have an indent rather than a poke hole camera on the back. It's normal that they will stay with the double camera arrangement, yet it could be whenever we first get a lidar scanner on the lower end models. The double camera arrangement will comprise of a wide point and an ultra wide camera, and the telephone will be controlled by the new A16 Bionic, which can be a 4nm chipset that is both more remarkable and effective than the A15, being accompanying 6GB of smash and a decision of 128,256 or 512 storage is going. The telephone will be controlled by a 3,240 mAh battery with further developed quick charging liable to be something like 25 watts. It's supposed to help both remote and converse remote charging, and it's additionally expected to accompany 5 grams Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband help. It will obviously transport with the new iOS 16. With regards to evaluating, Apple have been keeping things generally the equivalent of late, so we're anticipating that the base model should begin from $799 presently. Next up we have the iPhone 14 Ace. With the iPhone 14 Star we get a 6.1-inch Ace Movement OLED show. It's a 120 Hz LTPO show with a goal of 1170 by 2532, which gives us 440 pixels for every inch on the front. We get another 12 megapixel wide point camera with Face ID sensors implanted in the presentation. On the back we get a triple camera arrangement comprising of a 48 megapixel wide point as the essential, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel fax, and obviously we get the extra lidar scanner. The telephone will be fueled up by the A16 Bionic, and it's supposed that it will accompany the decision of 8 gigs of SLAM 128, 256, 512 and 1 terabytes of capacity. The telephone will be fueled up by a 3,240 mAh battery with further developed quick charging prone to be 25 watts. It's supposed to help both remote and opposite remote charging, and it's likewise expected to accompany 5 grams Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband help it will send with iOS 16. Furthermore, the base model of the iPhone 14 Expert is supposed to send off from $999 now. The new expansion, which is the iPhone 14 Max, the iPhone 14 Max is supposed to accompany a 6.7-inch Super Retina OLED show. It's supposed to be a 90Hz show with a goal of 1284 by 2778 on the front. We get a 12-megapixel selfie camera, and on this model we likewise have a score, and afterward on the back we get a 12-megapixel wide point as the essential, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and the lidar scanner. The telephone will be fueled by the new A16 Bionic, and it ought to be accompanying 6 gigs of SLAM and a decision of 128,256 or 512 capacity. The iPhone 14 Max will be controlled by a 4,352 mAh battery, again with quick charging, prone to be 25 watts. It's supposed to help both remote and opposite remote charging. And it's likewise going to accompany 5 grams Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband backing. Obviously it will transport with iOS 16. With regards to valuing, we expect the iPhone 14 Max to begin from $899. Now at long last we have the top-end model. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is accompanying a 6.7-inch Ace Movement OLED show. We're expecting a 120Hz LTPO show with a goal of 1284 by 2778, giving us 458 pixels for each inch on the front. We get a 12-megapixel punch or selfie camera with Face ID under the presentation, and afterward on the back is the triple camera arrangement and a lidar scanner. The triple camera comprises of a 48-megapixel wide point, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 12-megapixel fax. The telephone will be controlled up by the A16 Bionic, and it's supposed that it will accompany a decision of 8 GB of Smash 128, 256, 512 or 1 TB stockpiling. The telephone will be fueled by a 4,352 mAh battery with further developed quick charging, prone to be 25 watts, and again it's probably going to help both remote and opposite remote charging. It's supposed to accompany 5 grams Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband help, and it will obviously send with iOS 16. The base model of the iPhone 14 Pro Max is supposed to send off from $1099, and obviously the higher stockpiling choices will cost all the more, so generally speaking the iPhone 14 is looking mind-boggling, and it's perfect to at last see some uncommon plan changes. If you like the video, give the big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. See you in the next video.